what you want to do.
Never thought seeing a member of NCT leave would occur in my lifetime, honestly. So as crazy as this historical moment sounds, this marks the first NCT member to leave NCT.
Don't stop the music 왜 멈춰 집에 돌아가 My piece of party.
Hi everyone, welcome to the theyutazen. As much as I love NCT and its unique concept, style of music, the different members that shine and overflow with talent, SM had a great idea to form this group. But let's be honest, it was not executed well at all, or at least how they planned it to. And with the way things are looking these days with NCT, it doesn't look good. Let me explain. So the whole point of NCT, or Neoculture Technology, was to localize K-pop all around the world. SM adopted the Japanese concept of limitless members with the intention of graduation and incoming new members. When talking about the debut of NCT as a whole, we have to touch on the units in order because instead of just doing that, they debuted unit by unit instead of as a whole. The first NCT unit that debuted was NCTU, or NCT United. The point of NCTU was to unite and combine different members. NCT did not quite debut as a whole, so SM debuted their favorites at the time first as NCTU with the song The Seventh Sense. It received global attention for it was never to be seen before in K-pop to have this style of music. The next units formed were NCT Dream and NCT 127. NCT 127, what I like to call the main NCT unit, were Seoul-based. 127 comes from the longitude of the city. They debuted with the song Fire Truck, and with this they put on this presence that they were rebellious and not the typical sugar-coated, innocent, PC, if you will, boy group. On the contrary, we have NCT Dream, a group of teenagers under 20 years old with the concept of a fresh, fun, youthful presence, and their music shows that, like their debut song Chewing Gum. NCT Dream had a special rule where once the members grow up and turn 20, the official adult age of Korea, they must graduate NCT Dream and move on to something else. The final unit and the most recent unit formed was the unit to localize K-pop in China with the unit WayV, or WayV. This unit was composed of Chinese-speaking members, therefore they would perform music under the Chinese language and be stationed in China as well. Although these are three different units with mainly different members in each unit, they all fall under the NCT brand. Though they may seem separate, they are all one. For instance, if you take a look, you can see that there are recurring members in a few units like Mark, who debuted under NCTU at first, then debuting under NCT Dream, for he was under 20 when he debuted, which fit for the NCT Dream requirements, and also debuted in NCT 127. The same for Haechan, although he debuted under NCT Dream and 127 first, then became a member featured in NCTU. Winwin is a member that tackled 127, then NCTU, then went inactive with 127, so he could focus on being a part of WayV. For a while, NCT would perform with the units they were assigned to. When it came to forming a full album, like Empathy, the different units would make their own music and just add it in the album. In 2020, the NCTU concept became different. Instead of having a few members in NCTU like before, it was changed to make combinations of different members of different units and make music, meaning that anybody could be in NCTU. I hope that made sense because from what I've noticed, the NCT concept is easy to learn but hard to explain since there are so many components to what makes NCT the group they are. Or at least that's what they planned at first. The idea was good in theory, and I say that because all of what I explained basically backfired. This part kind of goes hand in hand with the video I watched a while back called The Never-Ending Broken NCT System by the K-tuber Felt. I'm kind of just reiterating what they said because they explained it better. Check out their video, it is really good if you want to know more about it. but I'll just paraphrase the most important points from their video, starting with WayV was a mistake. Around the period of Superhuman era for 127 and Dream's We Boom era, it was kinda bumpy. NCT 127 changed their style of music to fit what Westerners like, and Koreans were not happy about that, and it didn't help that Dream was falling apart, which I will get into. Originally, there were going to be a unit formed called NCT Tokyo. Japan already had a pretty solid and secure idol industry, so it would make sense to form a Japanese unit. Considering the groups that inspired the NCT Limitless system, Japan would understand and grasp the NCT concept better. But Lee Soo-man decided to go for China first, since he had been talking about China and was stubborn about the idea. There were a lot of things behind the WayV formation that I did not know and was surprised to learn, like they had to call the unit WayV or Waishun-V and not simply NCT China due to politics. Anyway, WayV had to really fight for the promotion for their group, considering that China's idol industry was still fresh and new in 2018, and then WayV debuted at 2019. Y'all know Korean shows to showcase performances from K-pop artists, Inkigayo, Music Bank, and more names come to mind, right? Japan also has stuff like this too, since both nations have a solid idol industry for decades. As for China, they hardly had shows like that, so how were WayV going to branch out to the Chinese market? Typically, they would have to go through like brand deals, modeling, maybe showing up in variety shows to gain attention. Other agencies like JYP and Hybe labels have been trying to localize K-pop in Japan, and it is working. I think it would have been a better idea to localize a Japanese unit first. There are just so many reasons why that would have worked much better. I'm not saying WayV shouldn't have happened. I'm saying that it shouldn't have been the first unit to localize outside of Korea. Maybe hitting Japan then China would have been a better route. So you see, going headfirst into China was a bad idea. I mean, it planned out well. I mean, it is an SM Entertainment group, so of course they would, and I love WayV, but if we're talking about the growth and success of NCT as a whole, it probably would have been smarter and better to not have WayV be established first. NCT Dream was a bit of a nightmare for a bit. We recall NCT's graduation system, right? Mark was the first to graduate since he was the eldest. He was already in other units, so he did not have trouble finding somewhere else to be. So that left NCT Dream to continue without Mark for at least a year because Mark was a 99-liner. The next members that would have to go are the 2000-liners, which make up 4 Dream members. That did not work out. NCT never brought any new younger talents to join NCT Dream, which was good because I am the same year as Jisung, and anything under 2002 at the time was too young to be in K-pop in my opinion. And not only the failure of bringing in new members, and citizens grew very fond of NCT Dream and did not want to see them go. Besides, if the 2000-liners had to go, where would they go? Haechan was in NCT 127, but realistically not everyone should go to 127. And apparently Ranjun and Chunla were not a good fit for WayV, so where would everyone go? Like, soon enough NCT Dream became a fixed unit, and Mark eventually came back to NCT Dream. Straying away a bit, but I want to touch on how we didn't need SuperM. SuperM was a supergroup containing the strongest members of EXO, SHINee, and NCT, and WayV. This is not technically an NCT unit, but I don't know, most of us included it. I don't know. I mean, it includes NCT and WayV, so why not? It was a way to try to popularize in the Western market, but mainly America. This was in 2019, and that year was also when BTS were kind of trying to be mainstream for the US, and they gained success in it luckily, but also had a hard time trying to communicate and relate to what Westerners enjoy in music, if that made sense. Despite BTS being somewhat successful, SuperM was not as successful. I really liked it, but I was also thinking long term. I mean, these are 3 separate groups, technically 4, so they will branch out to do their things so often. So how often would this supergroup come together? So how often would this supergroup, meet up to cook something up for us, make comebacks? Even back then, I was like, this group should have been an SM station thing. After the debut of Super M, I didn't really see the point for Super M, and many of us didn't really care so much about Super M after their debut. I remember thinking like, this is totally what I needed in 2019, but after that it was just like, eh. I was more worried for Mark, considering this was his 5th debut and he has to flip-flop to other projects he was doing for the other units, on top of Super M now. NCT should have done a NCT US or North American unit where it could be a group based in America, kind of like how 127 are based in Seoul. Johnny and Mark would have been a good fit for this since they are North American and add on more Western members into the group. We didn't need Super M, really. Which may lead us to NCT Hollywood. SM wanted to make a North American unit and name it NCT Hollywood through a survival show, but if you're a Westerner, at least in North America, survival shows and talent showcasing shows are becoming obsolete. I mean, when was the last time we've seen a huge artist break out from appearing in something like American Idol? Debatably Melanie Martinez, but she didn't even win her season. I remember everyone clowning NCT Hollywood and thinking it's a bad idea. I mean, lots of y'all ate up Super M, so I don't see why y'all would be hating on NCT Hollywood if it's basically the same thing, kind of. Actually, I know why, because I guess a lot of people forgot that there are Asian people in America. The melting pot of nations. I remember people making edits on how are they going to, when they see white people in NCT, or that K-pop doesn't need white people, or if they wanted a photo card of a white person, they would just look at the back of a dollar bill. Last time I checked, Johnny and Mark are not white, not even Asian, but okay. Besides, there are a bunch of Asian idols that we all love, so what's the problem? Group can be an all-Asian group, but just based in the US with Western Asian members. There can be Asians, Blasians, Latino and Hispanic Asians. How was everybody missing the point and generalizing every American as white? The point is, since K-pop was going big in the US and the Western hemisphere of the world in general, going for something like NCT Hollywood would have been better than doing something like Super M. And now with that in mind, what's the move? Are we keeping both groups, or if we're going to do an NCT US Hollywood, whatever it is, get rid of Super M and do not make a survival show out of it. Americans don't even watch live television anymore. From what we in Citizens know, with how the units and the entire group is managed, and with the knowledge that SM are planning other expansions for other nationalities to be a part of NCT, it's just nerve-wracking because they can barely even deal with what they have right now. In recent events, it was understood that NCT was going to not only get rid of the graduation system, but the system that made them unique in the first place, the limitless system. And from what I read and understood, they will cap the NCT roster when they hit 28 or 30 members, which give them room to maybe cough up 2 smaller units or one final NCT 127 sized unit, a large kind of unit. Also in recent events, we were shown that Yuta and Shotaro, NCT's only Japanese members, were promoting a PSA for fellow Japanese future talent, which sparked the idea that we might get NCT Japan or the NCT Tokyo that was planned since 2016. After that, we were given a peek on the new SM rookies, and they were rumored to be the newest additions to NCT and most likely NCT Japan. I hadn't followed the SM rookies, but that's all I've heard and that's all I know. Speaking of Shotaro, Very recently, SM released a statement that Shotaro and Sungchan, aka the two newest additions to NCT since 2020, they will move to another group. Which begs the question, what now? My initial question was, does SM know what they are doing with NCT? But after everything I just told you in this video, no, they don't. It was just so disappointing to see them go because they were brought in about 2 to 3 years ago, participated slightly in NCT Resonance Part 1 and 2, but was yet to be put in a proper unit. And you know what? I'm glad that they're leaving because they were basically in purgatory, the NCT purgatory, if you will. They would appear to do some silly shows and videos in the NCT channel. They always reminded us that they were there, but they didn't have their fit for the group figured out. I was tired of it. I will definitely see what's up when they debut in their new group for sure. Right before that though, Lucas also decided to leave the group. I made a video about what had happened with Lucas, but in short, he had a scandal about 2 years ago. He was put in hiatus and we didn't get anything until 2 years later where he said he was leaving NCT and WayV. This very well could have been handled better, but SM was just so bad with managing the scandal. So that is 3 members down from the original 23. Oh, and to make it better, the SM rookies that were rumored to be Neos will not be in NCT either. So then we aren't going to have NCT Japan after all? I don't know. So with all of this in mind, what's the next move? I'm glad the limitless system is abolished because more and more members would just drown out the others. If the NCT concept was confusing enough, I'm more confused now because the future of NCT is not looking good, but this mess of ideas and execution have been here for 7 years since NCT debuted. My takeaways from all of this is, I'm glad the limitless system is gone. I'm disappointed of SM ignoring the better route for NCT, and I'm definitely disappointed with the recent outcome of releasing perfectly good members. And from what we in Citizens know with how the units and the entire group is managed, and with the knowledge that SM are planning other expansions for other nationalities to be a part of NCT, it's just nerve-wracking because they can barely deal with what they have. I doubt NCT will ever fall off because they are in the big 4 companies, so anything they put out will do well, even though Citizens have a split opinion of whether NCT's music is good, or at least the Illy Chill's music, but I think they'll do just fine. I just want to know what will happen now. Who are the remaining members, and what is the unit, or units, after NCT is now established in their fixed units? Will they fix up everything now that SM can focus on NCT alone now? Because it seemed like SM were bouncing too many ideas and not focusing on one project at a time. I don't know. What is the move?